Hi, everyone. Welcome to Therapeutic Interventions for Mentors Working with Children. I'm Jeanette-ically, and I will be your trainer today, and I will be sharing with you a lot of the interventions that I do with children. So I hope you find this helpful. So one of the first things that's important for us to understand is how do we all learn as humans? And why is this important? Because when we're reaching a child who's experienced anything overwhelming or traumatizing, this will compromise their ability in receptive learning. So we want to be able to apply all the different ways of learning so that we can reach them, influence them, connect with them in multiple variables and multiple ways. So if we understand, and this is based on William Glasser's work, 10% of what we read, we learn. 20% of what we hear, we learn by listening. 30% of what we see, we learn by looking and seeing at something, whether it's an image, a graphic, a visual. 50% of learning is what we see and hear at the same time. 70% of what we discuss with others. So that's talking, asking, repeating, naming, reproducing, remembering, discussing, reacting, defining. 80% of what we do, whether that's writing, interpreting, translating, expressing, looking over, identifying, communicating, applying, using, planning, predicting, finding out, creating, organizing, summarizing, analyzing, differentiating, examining, cataloging, participating, and checking. 80% of how we learn. And 95% of how we learn is when we teach others. And I have made some mental health videos for kids. And one of my 3 recommendations at the end of my video is teach this tool, coping skill, mental health coping skill to someone else because you will learn it 95% more. So what you'll learn today and what we're learning, please apply the principle of teaching it to someone else. That way you will reinforce your learning by explaining, summarizing, classifying, structuring, defining, generalizing, developing, trying out, and illustrating. So being trauma informed is a matter of sink or swim. Your job is to throw them a life preserver when they are out to sea and bring them back to shore so they don't drown in their emotional and overwhelming emotional and psychological life, and learn to keep them breathing by keeping your own breathing mask on so you can swim with them. This work is not for the faint of heart. Working with a child or adolescent and a family system that has experienced a traumatic event, an overwhelming experience, can have long-lasting effects. We're going to feel them with them. So we need to learn how to put on our own mask, our own self-care, and breathe. Really, really, really important. One of the tools that I use for breathing is lavender oil. You can get some at a local health food store. I like the brand Now, N-O-W. And you put a little bit in the palm of your hand, you rub your palms together, and you take in a deep breath through your nose. And then you release it with an ocean breath. Take in another deep breath through your nose and let out a flat tire. And what we're understanding about the fight, flight, freeze state in the body is there's a third nerve in the body called the polyvagal nerve. And this nerve needs to be intercepted because it does activate the fight, flight, freeze response in the body. So when you are exhaling, the goal is to exhale even longer than you would normally so that it's on purpose. You keep exhaling. So take in a deep breath again. And then you let out another ocean breath. And you're pushing, pushing, pushing until your diaphragm is so tight. Then you take in another deep breath through your nose and release it the same way again. This is a wonderful tool to use with your clients, with your mentees, and for yourself. I model breathing all the time with my clients. Let's do this together. It's a lot of let's and we, because why? We're both either sinking or swimming together. We want to stay swimming. So, doing exercises with your clients, with your mentees, is the best and most effective way to stay regulated and stay available and stay connected. So, trauma informed model of care is very important for us to understand. Affirm. Affirming that they are not coping well in the midst of a meltdown is considered normal, completely normal for children with trauma histories, except a child's behavior is not a misbehavior, but a stress behavior of projection or protection. It goes like this. I'm going to bring you close, but only so close. It's a push and pull. I'm going to act it out on you, or I'm going to protect myself and internalize it and act it out inside of me. Children are not innately bad. We need to remember this. Most children want the approval of their peers, of their parents. Kids act out because they don't know any other way of being in the world. All behavior is a form of communication. So when we can step back and go, hold on, what is the child communicating? I accept this communication. We may not accept throwing cell phones across the room, but I accept that my child is upset, my mentee is upset, and there's something we can do about this problem. Admit, we are human. We all need to halt sometimes. We get stressed out together because we have mirror neurons. We pick up and absorb other people's emotional life, their sensations. We are always reading another person's body language, their emotional life, and what they're communicating through their nonverbal cues. So we're picking this up through what's called mirror neurons. You ever go out with a friend for lunch, in the past, of course, we're in a pandemic, and you're happy, and then your friend shows up and they're depressed. And then throughout the lunch, you significantly become more depressed. And you're leaving the lunch feeling depressed yourself. That's called mirror neurons. And our right brain is picking up all this information. Humans, this is part of the human experience. We pick up on other people's experiences, their emotions. So we do need to step back and do that self-care. If we're not regulated, we will not be able to regulate someone else. So being aware of your body, we're going to get into this. How do you do that? What you need to be aware of so that you can stay regulated is key in working in a trauma-informed model. Acknowledge. We are planting the roots of trust, safety, consistency in the relationship. 80 to 90% of how we learn to be in a relationship is just doing this. The consistency, the showing up, the building of trust, the being a source of safety is how we learn to be in relationship. So the more we learn to be in a relationship with ourselves, the more we can stay in relationship with others. We can learn how to co-regulate, which is what we want to be able to do in healthy, intimate relationships and parent-child dynamic and mentor-mentee dynamic and therapist-client dynamic. Assess. We want to learn how to read the signs of our clients when they are becoming overstressed and identify with them when they are becoming stressed and use this as a learning experience to help them recognize they are becoming stressed. Wow, we're having some big feelings right now. And together, we're going to learn what we need to do to slow down that big nerve in the body. It's a freeway between the brain and the body, how to slow it down so it doesn't hijack you and take over your whole experience. And then we want to set expectations based on the client's developmental emotional age, not chronological age. People with attachment trauma have at least a 2-year emotional and psychological delay. Think about that. Think about that. Even if you're a parent watching this, step back and go, what age do I see? When my child is acting out, when my client is acting out, when my mentee is having their big feelings, what age am I seeing? And typically that is the age where they are stuck emotionally and psychologically. And we want to be able to recognize that and honor that. And it's not by telling the child, if you have a 13-year-old, wow, you're really acting like a 3-year-old. No, that's not going to be helpful. It's stepping back and being mindful because you're the stronger, wiser, and kind mentor, parent, clinician who's going to sit back, take in this information, and recognize this adolescent is not 13 chronologically, they're actually 3. And that means I need to set the expectations based on a 3-year-old developmental age rather than a 13-year-old developmental age. Can a 3-year-old just go in their room and clean it? No. Do they need me to go in and do what's called time in parenting, time in relationship, doing with a lot of, again, we, us, together, let's do this. Because when we set expectations based on their developmental emotional age, they will do better and they will feel better. So if you have a child, say they are 8 years old, and the parent is complaining, maybe it's a foster parent, of they can't clean their room. What's really important working with a child with a trauma history is understanding what happened to them. If we don't understand what happened to them, we're also not going to understand developmentally where they are emotionally. If I'm talking about this client that I'm thinking of, we did not know that he was homeless for a few years, living in his car with his family. When he was fostered and placed in a foster home, he was expected to clean his room. Well, what ended up happening was he couldn't clean his room. Why? Because he didn't have that experience developmentally. And the fact that he couldn't do that emotionally was setting him up to feel like a failure because he couldn't do it. Not that he wouldn't do it, he couldn't do it. So when a parent can step back and go, okay, let me see where they are developmentally, then I can assess what the expectations are for their age developmentally. So undesirable behavior, we want to understand. There's confusion in the world of trauma, and we're understanding this more, but it needs to be told over and over again. Traditional parenting methods like consequences and punishment don't work for improving behavior in children. This has been studied, and children, especially who've been exposed to trauma, the more we chip away at all that unwanted behavior, this is the iceberg effect. All you're focusing on is the behavior, behavior, behavior. You're losing the fact that the more bad behavior seems to surface, there's a lot going on underneath it. A more effective method is to look beneath the surface for the things that are causing the unwanted behavior. By working on these things, the unwanted behavior will begin to sink away. So underneath the iceberg effect, there are needs, emotions, and triggers. Needs, most undesirable behavior is a result of unmet needs. So we want to determine what unmet needs are causing the behavior and work towards meeting those needs. Sometimes it seems like we are rewarding bad behavior, but in reality, we're helping the child to have their needs met and to eliminate the need for the behavior. I like the 5 A's. There are 5 basic human needs. We all need attention, and that's listening. Not agreeing, It's listening. Kids need a lot of listening. I need you to know what just happened to me. We don't want to talk them out of it. We don't want to give unsolicited advice out of it. We just want to sit and be a container and listen. That's the first A. We all need affection. Now, some kids who have trauma, whether it's sexual or physical abuse, are not able, because it's too vulnerable, because it creates a trigger, an emotional trigger for them. They can't tolerate touch. So maybe affection is not an effective need to be met for them, but that's something you'll assess with the child. Even a pat on the back can startle them. We all need attention, affection, autonomy. We all need alone time sometimes. And that means to just slow down, take a rest, regroup with ourselves, whether it's downtime listening to music, something usually passive. It could be exercise, it could be reading, something that provides alone time and self reflection time. We all need acknowledgement, and acknowledgement is I exist. Somebody sees me, hears me, and gets me. And that acknowledgement is crucial because we tend to dismiss and not validate. It's, I'm sensing you're feeling this. Is that what am I getting that right? Am I picking up what you're telling me? I'm sensing, I'm thinking, I believe this is what's happening. Can you confirm that for me? So being curious with open-ended questions and saying things out loud to acknowledge, I see you, I hear you, and I believe you. Even if it's not based in reality, someone says, this is how I feel, this is how I feel, the bigger it is, the more we need to validate it. I had a kid, parent would say, the complaint was, he keeps telling me he's stupid, and I keep telling him he's not stupid. And I said, this is the iceberg effect. The next time he tells you I'm stupid, you need to go beneath the iceberg, meet the need. He's needing acknowledgement. There is a part of him that believes he's stupid. And we do need to acknowledge that. And when we do, it will lessen the behaviors because he'll feel heard, seen, and received. And the parent did just that, and it lessened it. And we could explore it more. And the intensity, frequency, and duration of I'm stupid, lessened. So it's really important to acknowledge there are unmet needs, especially with big behavior. And the last unmet need is appreciation. We all need appreciation. And, with kids who've experienced trauma, their behaviors are scary, confusing, angry, emotional, impactful, big. It can be the only thing we see. And if we can just begin to point out positives, little pieces. Wow, thank you for throwing out your plate. That means a great deal when you help out. Good job. I appreciate you for doing your part. I appreciate you for coming to me when you needed help. And I know that was not easy. So we're appreciating their strengths and their vulnerabilities. So crucial. So those are the 5 needs. Emotions, another part of the iceberg effect. Many behaviors are associated with negative emotions, especially in children who've experienced trauma. Helping children to regulate emotions can make a huge difference in improving behavior. Teach children about emotional regulation. And I have many mental health videos for kids, helping them learn tools to cope with their emotions. Help them to practice self-regulation through games, activities, my anger bag, my sad bag, 5 ways to hack your stress. Prompt, support, and guide until they can regulate emotions on their own. There's also another program called the Alert Program. Great way to teach kids that your body, when it's having big emotions, is on alert. And we want to learn how to go inside our bodies and think, and they use the analogy of a car. Your body is like an engine. And sometimes your engine's running too hot, where you're running all over the place. Sometimes it's running too low. and maybe it's not in the lane and it's all over the place, but it's not thinking clearly and it doesn't know which way to turn. And then our bodies are running just right in our own lane. The alert program is a great tool for kids to help them go inside, think about and identify what they're thinking, how they're feeling, and what they can do about it. And the last piece of the iceberg effect is triggers. A trigger can be absorbed through the five senses. And if you think about it, this is how trauma is absorbed through the five senses. That's sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. Any sense can trigger and set off a memory or flashback, transporting the child back to the traumatic event that they have experienced. So we want to be on the lookout, and it's being a sensory detective. Be on the lookout for triggers. Identify with them, talk with the child about them, try to avoid them. Talk with your child's counselor or caseworker about the triggers you may identify or suspect. Something I do with parents is I ask them, do a mapping journal. So the next time you see your child flip their lid and act out emotionally and you see them triggered, a trigger is what's hysterical. We must assume is historical, is something to do with the past. So a mapping journal is very simple. And actually, all you need to get is some paper, some lined paper. You're going to log who, what, where, when, and how. It's called being a sensory detective. Where were we? What time of day was it? How did it happen? When did it happen? And why do you think it happened? And what you're going to do is just easy answer the questions. You're going to begin to see patterns. Because here's the thing, a lot of the time we don't know what the trigger is. It's very hard, especially with kids who've had early trauma histories, and we don't have any of the information. And a lot of kids who come into the child welfare system, we don't know what happened to them. So it's hard for all of us, mentees, clinicians, parents, and social workers, to know exactly what happened. And we see it through a lot of these big behaviors, but we just don't know. So by doing a mapping journal, you're able to start seeing a pattern. Every time we go to the park, there seems to be something at the park triggering for the child. Maybe something actually happened at a park that was overwhelming. And if you were to look back at their history, if you were to gain a full history, you might see and recognize that something did happen at a park that was overwhelming and traumatizing. So it's important to understand what drives behavior through the iceberg effect. The kid who has experienced trauma is not trying to push your buttons. He's having a healthy response to an unhealthy internal threat. Do not take these behaviors personally. So, what we want to learn to do is be an owl, and that's observe, watch, and listen. And that's literally taking a step back. As a mother myself, I've many times taken my deep breaths, literally taken a step back to help me visually, spatially assess the situation before reacting or judging, because we are all going through things, especially right now. We all have compromised mental health challenges. So we want to be an owl to others and we want to be an owl to ourselves. Healing cannot happen without safety in the relationship. A child or teen in stress reads our body language, this is clinicians or parents, before they can attune to our words. 95% of communication is nonverbal. You want to be aware of your 7 nonverbal cues. Your eye contact, how you're looking at the child or teen. Are you looking in an accusatory way or what's called a curious way? Stay open. Openness creates openness in the relationship and safety. Facial expressions. How are you holding your face? Are you intense looking? Is it interrogating? Listen, I, as a clinician, There were times when I was very intent on being there, but my facial expression was not creating a relationship of safety. I looked too intense for the child. So just be aware of how you're looking. And if you stay in a curious stance of curiosity, your facial expression actually opens up. And that brings me to number 3, and your tone of voice shifts. When we're questioning, our tone gets harsher, stronger. When we're curious, our tone gets open and lighter. Posture. How are you holding yourself? Are you slouched? Do you have your arms crossed? Or are you open? Are you relaxed? Because what we're modeling is what they're going to respond to. And then 6 and 7 is timing and intensity of response. Rhythm is everything. We want to be able to match their rhythm, but also influence their rhythm. If a child's moving too fast, we want to be able to slow things down with them. I even do, let's pretend we're in slow motion and we can't move. And let's keep breathing. So we're connecting, we're engaging, we're joining in each other's experience, and we're learning how to co-regulate through experience. So memorize the owl and the 7 nonverbal cues. Beware of your own and beware of your clients, your child's, your mentees, because that's going to give you information as to what's going on with their emotions, their triggers, their unmet needs, because that's the tip of the iceberg, remember. To be trauma informed is to shift the way you look at a child or adolescent who's experienced trauma, even adults. It's not that they won't behave. This is a common phrase. Why won't they behave? It's reframing. They can't behave like other kids their age. Remember, they're emotionally, psychologically younger. So you want to reframe your thinking. It's not that they won't behave, it's that they can't behave. And I say, write this down on a card because that's going to help you learn it when you define it for yourself. So when we're talking about reframing behavior, we want to be able to do that. Kids do well if they can. So we're changing the won't trauma model to can't. A won't model of thinking is judgmental. It's assuming the child is willful. They're defiantly doing this. They're lazy. We're assuming negative motives. Hey, when we assume a negative motive, guess what? We create that negative motive. And then when we're doing that, we're creating rewards and punishments for stopping that behavior. But with these kids, they can't stop it. They can't. So the rewards and punishments actually makes them feel worse and they become more behavioral symptomatic. It becomes a vicious cycle. And there's frustration, guilt, and shame, not only for the caregiver, but for the child, for the mentor, for the parent, for the social worker, for the clinician. So go to that can't mindset, stay curious, look at the stressors. What's stressing this child or teen out? How can we lessen the stressors, build the skills, because there's skills deficit. They don't know any other way to cope. What's getting in their way? How can I help? Find and remove these barriers, support and strengthen their ability to regulate. So when you see a child differently, you see a different child. Dr. Stuart Shanker. When kids exhibit challenging behavior, we can be stress detectives, finding and removing barriers. Find stressors, reduce them, find unmet needs and meet them, find skills deficits and teach them. The trauma-informed shift, part 2. It's not asking the question, what's wrong with you? It's reframing into, wow, what happened to you that scares you so much that now you have to protect, avoid, deflect, control the world around you? not what's wrong with you. This is about what's happened to you, and I'm accepting that. I'm affirming that. I'm assessing that. So now we're going to explore what happened with interventions. So, how do we understand their narrative? It's what happened to you is the biggest question. So, why did this problem or task overstress him or her? We need to ask those questions. Was he or she overstressed to begin with? And if so, why? What happened? What happened today? What happened yesterday? What happened last week? What can you do to reduce the cognitive stress of the problem, whether it's math, whether it's conflicts, not knowing how to regulate, running away? What's the problem? And let's put the problem out here so we can assess it outside of the child or teenager. What can you do to reduce his or her overall stress load? There's a phrase, less is more. We think kids can do baseball, art class, learn a new instrument, and do 5 classes all in one day. Some kids, it's not that they won't, they can't. It's just too much of a stress load. So, what can we do to help them restore so that they can both have the energy and desire to tackle whatever the problem is? So, here's a lateral timeline, which is really fun and easy to do. All you need is a piece of paper. And you're going to map out laterally different ages and stages in their life. And you can point out the positives and the challenges. We want to be able to provide, tell me a time, the most scariest time for you, or what was the most overwhelming time for you, or what was the most challenging time for you. Let's put that on your timeline so we can learn together your story. You can do this with words, you can do this with pictures like you see here. Family tree, my roots and my family. Now, this is something that I created, and you just need some poster board. And you do have in your handouts family tree leaves and seeds. So you would need some poster board, tape, string, markers, and paint. It helps us see the trajectory of their experience. So I put the tree in the center of the poster board, and on the bottom, we have the roots. Now you can use seeds, or you can read a great book with the child called What Makes a Baby, which talks about that there's a sperm and an egg that come together and dance and join each other's stories to become one seed. And so it's a beautiful book to talk about how all babies are made, especially if a child has been removed from their biological families. So you put the roots. If they have names, we put names. If they don't, we give them names based on what the child wants to call their birth parents, their mother or their father. And if they have siblings that they know of, they can put that in their roots. And then the tree, and then we put on the leaves, the people in their caring tree, all the people taking care of him right now, him or her. And then I like paints to be used because that they can express emotion through color, whether it's you can identify blue as being a sad color. Green here was a very big color for her. She was feeling good. But then there was in her sky, there was some dark colors, things that were unknown. This is a child who has a lot of unknowns, and she did experience a lot of trauma. So above her, and I always say, a lot of kids are walking around with puzzle pieces just lingering above their heads as to their stories and what happened to them. It's not clear. It's very murky. It's overwhelming. It's hard to look at. It's hard to see. And this was her expression. And then you can tape the other poster board on top once this is dried, tape it on the sides, and then cut up the middle, and then it opens up into doors. And they can put pictures on the side and her sides. And if you can see close, the reason why I use string is because I put a hole in the bottom of the poster board. I take a piece of string, I put it through, tape it on the back, and then on that string, I put another leaf with the child's name on it. And I like to either laminate that or put it in a double clear tape, put a hole through that, put the string through that, and then pull the string up so that we see a connection between their roots and their family now. And then I put a hole on the top and seal it on the back so that they can travel back and forth. So we see this continuity in all the families they are a part of. So that is the arc that I want to create in my trees. And then we close the doors and they can create a front door security code. And this is their code. So they can go in and open their story when they want to go in there and explore or add more information. And then they can close it to keep it secure. Now, I also like to explain to kids that when you are sharing your story, your family tree, when you feel open, you share. When you feel trusting, when you want to share your story, you can open and share your story. And that's called a boundary. And when you close and you want to keep it private, that's another boundary. You get to choose who you share your story with and who you do not. You want to share it with people that are looking out for your well being, who care about you, who are innately curious, who you can trust, and who will be kind, thoughtful, validating, affirming of who you are. This family tree was a child who'd been in multiple foster homes. So the same concept, the roots on the bottom, we actually turn the poster board horizontally as opposed to vertically so that we could connect the whole through line. And so we cut out houses. If you don't have, this is actual tape, this is road tape, you can draw a road. And so each house represents each foster home, the paints utilizing the colors of the emotions. And here I even used clippings from magazines to do a form of collage, placing words, pictures that could identify each home, each family, and what they were feeling and experiencing. And then again, there's that through line there on the string, the connection between all their family. It's very powerful when a child has been through multiple foster homes and you see them in their caring tree, which is their adoptive family. And for this child, she wrote the end of her journey, that she didn't have to travel and be removed again, that this was permanent for her. House inside and out. This is an origami house, which you have in your handouts. Materials is just crayons or markers. Once you make the house, you then can tell the child to draw the outside of their house. You could have multiple houses. This could represent, you could even put this in the family tree. They could make a house for each family they had been to and then glue it on the family tree. What's nice is you can explore what life was like in each house with them, and they can tell you the story. What I like to say is, after, when you're allowing a child, giving them an opportunity to draw, give them some space, draw with them, having what's called parallel play. And you can even give them a time frame. We're going to draw for 10 minutes. Let me know if you need any help. I'm going to draw my house. You can draw your house, and then we can share our houses. Tell me the story about your house. Who's living in your house? Oh, what room is this? Asking open-ended questions. Again, gathering the information, getting to know the child, and exploring their internal world. My question box. Very simple technique, and also a very containing and therapeutic technique for kids. You'll need an empty box, crayons, markers, index cards, and or stickers. And so the empty box represents the question box, which you can decorate. We're going to create a question box because, why is this important? Because we can imagine you have a lot of questions about your experience, especially kids who've been in foster care, or questions about if a parent has left them, if they're living with grandparents, if they're in kinship care. Kids have questions. Kids are always seeking information in their environment. You can create a question box about anything, about going to school, about questions about my family, questions about what I'm going to do this summer, questions for my parent, questions for my sister, questions for the world, questions for when is this COVID-19 going to end? And when you write the question on the card, it goes into the question box and now it has a place. This serves as acknowledgement. Now we're acknowledging all these questions. And part of this process is telling them when we have the answer, we can provide that for you. Let me know what question you would like an answer to, and we, the adults, the big people, will do our best to do the research and find the answer. And when we do, we can pull that question out of the question box, write the answer on the back, and put it in an answer box or put it in an envelope labeled as my answers to my questions. What this serves is a stalling tactic, whether you're a social worker, a parent, a clinician, when kids have really big questions. And there's a lot of questions we don't have answers to. There's a lot of ambiguity. It provides some space for us to do the research, see what we can find so that we can answer it age appropriately, and then come back to the child, provide them the information. And if it's we don't have an answer to that question at this time, this question will need to remain in the question box until we are able to find the answer. I like to say give a week. When kids ask questions, I go, great, this is your question, or you have 2 questions. I like to limit it to 3. 1 to 3 questions that you would like an answer to next time I see you. If that's in a week, that's in a week. Or if it's 2 weeks, and that way you have this amount of time to provide, acknowledge, and affirm what the child needs. Because questions can be overwhelming for kids, and kids carry a lot inside. Just because they're not actively asking about it does not mean they're not actively thinking about it. So we all could use a question box about many things. It's a nice container, it's therapeutic, and it's effective. And placing it somewhere where it's accessible, any new questions that come up, parents can use this in so many different ways. Mentees, clinicians, social workers. That's a great question for your question box. Let's put that in there because we don't always have the answers at our fingertips. Word acronyms are really effective with kids. It helps them make sense. Remember before about learning, categorizing, identifying, organizing. Really great way to make sense of what happened to you. So you can use an array of topics: family, love, foster care, adoption, abuse, names, their name, a parent's name. You just need paper, crayons, or markers. So let's make an acronym for foster care. F, foster love. O, other family. S, share their home. T, teach about families. E, ever after not. R, really hurts. C, can't stay. A, angry sometimes. R, Ritalin, yuck. E, exit to home. Adopted, an opportunity for the child. D, daring to give your child away. O, our chance at a better life. P, pain for the birth parents. T, tears for the birth mom. E, experience a different life. D, doorway to a new life. These were actual acronyms that I've done with children. Very telling, very cathartic, and very releasing. And it really helps kids and adolescents make sense of their experiences. So psychoeducation interventions. So psychoeducation for children is really important. So in your handouts, I have provided you with a what is stress and how do we fix it for kids to teach them, again, psychoeducation. So, going through this PowerPoint with the child, helping them understand that this is part of being human. It's not something that's wrong with you, it's about what's happened to you, that you will be impacted. The hand model of the brain. We want to help kids understand that our brains are always picking up information, and we need to understand how it impacts the way we think and the way we react. So, something called the hand model of the brain, which was developed by Dan Siegel, I made into a children's hand model of the brain. And so, what you'll need is googly eyes, finger puppet, finger paints, markers. And if you don't have a finger puppet, you can draw an animal part, hold your hand up on your thumb. It could be a cat. It could be like my cat crying right here. I'll be with you soon. And you can use a Q-tip as googly eyes. So you hold a Q-tip like a ring, and then you can put two eyes like that. So easy. See? And what we want to do is teach kids the hand model of the brain. That if you hold up your hand and fold in your animal part right there and put your fingers over your animal like you're giving them a nice hug blanket. And if you look, this is about the size of your brain. And we're going to look inside your brain and see what's going on in there. Now, I gave you a link to the video, which is me down there showing kids what's going on in their brain. It's good for you to teach them, or you can show them the video and then do it together. I always ask kids, did you know that there's an animal part in our brain? And when something scares or stresses us out here, our animal is going to do one of three things: fight, flight, or freeze to protect itself. When your animal is feeling scared, what's one thing your animal might do? You might run away. Then I help them associate, because we have this animal part, do people ever run away? So your animal part may run away to protect itself. Now, if it feels like it can't run away, what might your animal part do next? If it feels scared or stressed out, it might fight whatever it is away, growl, scratch. Now, do people ever do that? How do people fight? They yell, they get annoyed, frustrated. Sometimes they punch, sometimes they kick to push it away, right? And then when we feel our animal part can't run and can't fight, it freezes. And that's where we feel helpless, hopeless, and powerless. And sometimes when we've had really scary things happen to us and we didn't know what else to do, we froze. We feel like we just collapse and we just feel helpless, hopeless, and powerless. Well, that's a part of us. It's part of all of our brains. And we have a higher part of our brain that learns how to take care of, nurture, soothe, calm down, collect itself. And that's the higher part of the brain. And that's our talking part, so that we can use I statements. I feel and I need. I feel really scared right now and I need alone time. Or I feel really sad right now. I need a hug. So, again, going through the 5 A's, teaching them how to name it, to tame it, so that they understand when they're about to flip their lid and act out from their animal part. See if they can think about it first, because that's the higher part of the brain. They can think, I'm feeling really angry right now, and I need to just go and use my anger bag right now, or I need to just take a walk, so that they don't flip out and act out from their animal part. They're able to have impulse control and slow down, stay thinking, stay problem solving. Hand model of the brain is a great tool for all kids to learn, and for parents too, and to use this terminology. Hey, I'm about to flip my lid, or even parents can use it. It helps everyone name it to tame it. Trauma reaction cards are also a great way to identify, again, categorize, and name the different feelings, the different experiences. So, feeling reaction cards come in different sets: feeling reactions, brain and thinking reactions, body reactions, and behavioral reactions. And with each one, this is a set, and I put a link down there from Beth Ritchie Counseling that you can purchase. If you can't purchase it, not that you won't, but we all have expenses, you can make cards. All you need are some index cards or even post it notes. Feeling reactions and then the feeling. So you could name entertainment with the child. Tell me 3 feeling reactions you have when you're having your big feelings. Tell me what you're thinking when you're having these feelings. Tell me what happens in your body when you're having these feelings and thoughts. Tell me what you do in order to protect or push away what's happening to you. What is your behavior? It really helps kids and adolescents identify these 4 pieces so that they can make sense of what's happening to them. Feelings: I feel ashamed, guilty, betrayed, sad, helpless. No matter what the experience, this is how they feel. I think about the trauma often. I think it's my fault. I think everyone is unsafe. I forget about parts of what happened to me. I have difficulty concentrating. I'm not trusting others. I think that I'm bad. I'm thinking the world is a bad place. My body feels disconnected. I feel disconnected. I feel like I'm re experiencing the trauma, triggers. I'm having headaches, bellyache, hyperactive. I have trouble eating. I feel like my body's in a constant panic. And I also have low energy. Behaviorally, I have difficulty separating from my parent. I have school problems. I can't think clearly. I use drugs or alcohol. I isolate from others. I avoid people, places, or things related to my trauma triggers. I cry. I don't listen. I'm defiant. And I have bathroom problems. So, really, once you have all this information, then you can start targeting and tackling each one. And if you really, what happens is when we can name entertainment, identify the feeling, affirm the feeling, give voice to the feeling. You can utilize art. Let's draw that feeling. When you acknowledge it, it lessens its intensity, frequency, and duration because someone now hears me and what's shareable becomes more bearable. Managing feelings with more interventions. A feeling snow globe is a great, easy, inexpensive way to help kids again understand what's going on in their brain and in their bodies. And so you need a water bottle with water, glitter, 5 different colors that represent sad, mad, happy, disgust, and fear, glycerin, or you could even use liquid soap or glue, clear glue, and duct tape. And basically, the way this works is with each color, we're going to teach the child to name it to tame it. So when I feel, using their I statements, I feel sad, tap in the glitter. I need, and they can identify what they need. When I feel mad, or you can tell me the story of some time when you were mad. What happened? What do you think you needed? So you can explore all their 5 feeling colors. And then at the end, put all these items in there. You seal it. So we're not going to drink this with clear soap, glue, or glycerin. And we're going to shake it up and shake it up to represent all the feelings that we're having. And if we just place it down in front of us for a few minutes and we work on regulating our bodies by breathing, slowing down, we'll see represented in front of us in the feeling snow globe our emotions calming down and slowing down. And so now we're going to watch a video called Just Breathe. Whenever I make feeling snow globes, I show this video so kids know why this is important.
I get really mad when my brother hits me a lot. I don't control yourself. Mad just takes over your body. I just get out of control. It's kind
Great video.
I get
And that's a great video. And that is on YouTube. Just breathe, mindfulness, feelings management. So we want to be able to teach them I feel basic feelings within statements. And where is this feeling in your body? And I need. So connecting the feeling in the body, the thought process, what do you need? 5 basic needs: autonomy or alone time, affection, attention, appreciation, and or acknowledgement. You also have a feeling thermometer in your handouts. Great way to help identify anger. Then you'll just need to print this out, get some crayons or markers, and the coping skills lists that I also provided for you. So they have the option of looking at what can I do? What are my options? And not all options are going to work for every kid. So you want to be able to provide these choices so they can make the best choice. When they're having, as you can see, the thermometer, they're big, medium, and small feelings. The big feelings, what it looks like, I'm yelling, I'm throwing, what can I do about it? Take a break, walk away. When I'm having my medium feeling of anger, it looks like I'm starting to get loud, so I can start to take some deep breaths. What can I do? My minimal anger, when I'm having some small anger, I sigh or I growl, and I can choose to get a drink of water. So helping them identify, and you can do this for any feeling. Map of my heart. So all you do is get some paper, crayons, markers, and the feeling colors chart. And what's nice about this is you draw a heart, and they can draw in their heart different feelings that represent how they're feeling. Again, identify it, organize it, categorize it, and then tell a story about the feelings. I usually do this alongside, again, that parallel play. We draw the heart, we color it in, and then we do this for 10 minutes, and then we get to share. Let's point to a feeling in our heart and let's share a story about that feeling. And there's the feeling colors chart, which you have. And there's no definitive, this color is this feeling. Children can mix and match whatever they'd like. It's nice to have some foundation of different colors that represent certain feelings so they can help, again, organize, clarify, and identify their feelings. Parts of me intervention. This also needs a poster board, materials, markers or crayons, post-it notes or envelopes, whatever is easily accessible for you. They draw an outline of a body, just a basic shape like a gingerbread body. And then some kids can put a picture in there on their face or draw their face. And then what this represents is the different parts of me. So you're not just one thing, you're many parts. I have an angry part, and yeah, I have a happy part. I have a scared part, I have a sad part. Is there a part that's missing? I have a my give me away part, that part that doesn't make me feel too good about myself. I feel like I'm not good enough part. And once we identify these parts, we can state on little cards or post-it notes, what does this part say to you? And what does this part need? So if we have the my give me away part, you're not good enough, you're bad, there's something wrong about you. That's what it's saying. Well, let's see if we can create some affirming, encouraging, compassionate ways to speak to yourself, because those my give me away part are automatic negative thoughts. So we want to create and some new thoughts to support, manage this part. This is about managing these parts. So we can say, you are a good person. What happened to you is not what's wrong with you. Be kind to yourself. Be your own best friend. Whatever works for that child is what we want to put in that part. How can we manage this part that's needing our attention? Your scared part. What does your scared part need? This is a great intervention. It's an ongoing intervention because you're always putting thoughts, feelings, sensations into these different parts and helping to support these parts as well. And then the child can have this at home to utilize, look at, process in their room on their own time. The anger bag. This is a coping skill for anger. And any of my bag components, you don't have to use when the child's angry. We use it when they're not angry because we know there's an angry part in there. And we're going to utilize it anyway. I like to say choose 3: Play-Doh, paper to rip, bubbles, crayons, paper to draw, bubble wrap, index cards, bag with handles. This is a video. There is a video that I made for kids called How to Make an Anger Bag, so that they know how to use each one of these components. And basically, these are all coping skills, teaching them that you can rip up paper, name it to tame it, say your I statements, and say what you need and release it. Then bubble wrap. We identify that we have anger, like stress in our body, cells in our body. There's anger in each one of these cells, and we're gonna release the anger. Crayons, we're gonna draw our feelings, what anger looks like, what our anger needs. Blowing bubbles, we're going to sit in a safe place. We're going to blow some feelings of anger. We're going to think about our anger. We're going to blow it into the bubble and watch it release. We're going to take some deep breaths and know that we will get through this. Feelings come and go like waves in the ocean. They don't last forever. And index cards, I like to call them anger busters. So you write on each card, what's an anger buster that works for you? And all of these things go in the bag. They can put the anger bag somewhere in their house and use it every other day to identify their anger, release their anger, put it back. And if they start sensing they're getting angry, they can go to their anger bag to mitigate the anger, of course. But most of the time, when we've already flipped our lids and we're very angry, we're not able to utilize direct coping skills. Some people can. We're teaching them to learn this now so that, yes, they can create the association. Oh, I'm starting to feel like I'm getting angry. Oh, I need to go do something with my hands because that helps me release it. This is the anger wheel, also in your handouts. Managing my anger. Again, like the iceberg effect, what's beneath it? What's driving the anger? So we want to name it to tame it. You can sit down, explore this with them, print it out for them so that they have it in their room. How anger feels in my body. These are also handouts to identify what they're sensing so they can start to begin to go into their bodies and go, oh, this is when I'm starting to get angry. When my ears start getting really hot. Oh, my belly starts feeling really tense, or my hands begin to clutch. So really helping them identify so they can begin to make sense and manage how to work through their anger. You have many anger management foldable activities, how to cool off, that you can cut out with them, make with them, color with them. Again, what are we doing? Providing coping skills, providing anger management. There's anger triggers calm down cards that you have that you can print out and utilize with kids. Scissors, you'll need markers, crayons, scissors, glue. I feel angry because to calm down, I can. Managing my emotions wheel. This is something also you can do with kids. You just print it out. You'll need markers or crayons, scissors, and glue, helping them know that there are choices. When you feel this, you can do this. And there's many different ways to tackle, slow down. You're not going to stop emotions. Emotions will come and go. It's how do you manage emotions? Very important. Sad bag intervention. This is also another one of those bags. They provide coping skills. This is for sadness because if we've identified there's a sad part. So again, Play-Doh, bubbles, crayons, paper to draw, pillowcase, worry dolls, index cards, bag with handles. Choosing 3. Play-Doh, it's just pushing the sadness in the Play-Doh, making something with the Play-Doh. Bubbles, it's releasing through the bubbles. Crayons, drawing. The pillowcase is something that I've used also with the anger bag, the scream pillow or the tear pillow. Getting a pillowcase that you're willing to allow a child to draw on and use as their identifier to help hold their big feelings like their sadness or their anger. And they draw on one side, their tear side. The other side could be the angry, mad, scream side, or it could be the happy side. And this is a place where they can go and cry if they need to cry, because crying is a natural way to release and mourn grief if you are grieving the loss of an attachment figure, the loss of your family, the loss of a sibling. There's many losses that can be grieved and utilized through the sad bag. Worry dolls. Worry dolls are these little dolls. You can make them out of popsicle sticks also, that when you tell each worry doll a worry, you then put them in a bag and you put them under your pillow at night. And in the morning and overnight, all the worry dolls will think out problems and solutions and hold your worries with you. And hopefully in the morning, you'll feel a greater sense of relief. What's really, and this is a concept for kids, it really is a tactic to get them to share their worries, express their worries. Someone's acknowledging their worries. Someone knows their worries. That's the concept of this. We want to help kids feel, talk about it, think about it, and manage it. Index cards, again, sad busters. What's your coping skill? Put your sad buster in your sad bag. And then when everything's done, you put the 3 or more items, and I like to write things to do when I feel sad to help my broken heart feel glad. With the anger bag, I like to write things to do when I feel mad to help my broken heart feel glad. Outside me and inside me. Another easy tool to use to help understand what's going on internally for them. You get big poster board, you're going to fold it in half, you're going to cut a line down the middle. The paper is then serving the outside face, and then inside is the inside face. So all you need to do on the outside is draw a circle representing the face. One side is the outside face. That's either the good or bad. Other words for bad are here. Mean. What's the part of you that's expressed out that you want to explore? What's going on beneath it? Because when we open up this flap, we're going to see what's going on beneath this side. So if there's another word for bad, let's find it. The behavior that you're not liking maybe keeps you away from friends, maybe impacts your ability to be friendly. Let's identify it and let's see what's going on. And on the good side, how do you show up when you're feeling your best self? And how do you feel inside when you're showing your best self? As you can see, they're flaps. So my good side here, I'm ecstatic, pretty, happy. Inside, I'm feeling okay. I'm happy, I'm warm, I'm good. My bad side is my depressed side. I'm mad, not talking, lonely. Inside, I'm feeling sad, shy, pouty, wet, cold, not feeling so good inside. So just naming it to tame it again, and then possibly talking about solutions to help that inner self be authentic with its outer self so we can integrate these parts and not feel so stuck. Impulse control interventions. Index cards are a great way to communicate. Some kids don't have the words. Visuals. Because a child's experienced trauma, they do rely heavily on nonverbal communication. whether it's through images, pictures, gestures. So, what I like about this, again from Beth Ritchie Counsel, is you can purchase them if you'd like. They're on popsicle sticks. An I disagree card, a pause card, I need a break, a I need attention, love and attention, the heart card, I have a question. So you can make these popsicle sticks and index cards. Having these available will only help kids feel greater self esteem, confidence, and I have ways to manage. If I'm not capable of talking, this is another way for me to communicate. Stop and think intervention. This is something I'm doing with kids. We write stop in our hand, and we write THINK. Again, that hand model of the brain. How do we stop and think before you speak? Is it true? T. Is it helpful? H. Is it inspiring? I. Is it necessary? N. Is it kind? K. Think about it. And the be wise intervention, if there's actually a pause button, if you hold your hand up, there's a soft spot between your thumb and index finger. This actually, it's an acupressure point. When you can pause and hold this for a minute and do your deep breathing, actually slows down your nervous system. It's been researched. It slows down your nervous system. Why? Because it's part of that polyvagal nerve that we're slowing and connecting to. So be wise. Be, breathe. 1 to 5 deep breaths. Connect with your senses. What are you seeing? What are you hearing? What are you tasting? What are you smelling? Press your pause button and make a choice of the following. It doesn't have to be in this order. W, I'm going to walk away. Whatever's happening is stressing me out. I'm going to ignore them. I'm going to use an I message, an I statement. I'm not feeling too good about this. I need alone time. S, share with someone what happened. What's shareable becomes bearable. E, express yourself, whether it's writing, poetry, art, dancing, journaling, music. Use it, externalize. So, be wise intervention is really for anyone in any place in the world, any experience. We all could use this intervention. Mother May I hula hoop boundaries intervention. This is for multiple people. These are the rules. It's Mother May I, and we're sitting in hula hoops. So the hula hoops are flat on the ground. There are toys that are placed around the hula hoops, and then there's always a mother, and everyone can take a turn, who gives out the chips. And each player must say Mother May I when beginning each turn. If they do, they get 2 points. Another way to earn points, ask for a toy. But you always have to ask the mother, can I have that toy without touching it, and wait for the answer, yes or no? You get 1 point. Accepting a no answer with no talking back, okay. And staying in your hula hoop, you get 5 points. Give kind words to another player, you get 5 points. Using eye contact when speaking, 10 points. Staying in your space in the hula hoop, you can get 10 points. This is another intervention that teaches impulse control, teaches self-reflection, because in order to get your points, you need to tell the mother what you get your points for. So you have to stop and think, pause. Well, I stayed in my hula hoop. I asked for the toy, but they said no, and I listened. And I said thank you. So you just got 10, 15, 16 points. Really fun game to play with multiple people. And then at the end, it's not how many points you have, but what do we all get to celebrate together for doing such a great job? Whether it's going out for ice cream, for learning how to slow down, how to stop and think, because this is part of everyone's education, emotional, mental health education, to learn how to take care of you when the outside world's not going exactly as planned. Fun intervention. Understanding how shame impacts behavior. It's important to understand that children who experience trauma will believe it was their fault because shame is directed towards the self, guilt is directed towards the behavior and the distress that person caused for the other person. Shame experiences the self as all bad, worthless, and unlovable. It's like this: they feel like they're in a bubble. And in that bubble, there's a mirror, and all they see is a reflection of their bad self. They can't see past the mirror. And the person feels as little they can do to fix this, since they don't feel like they can change the core of who they are. This core is bad. They blame themselves constantly. As a result, they are likely to deny, lie, make excuses, or blame others when they have a big behavior because they don't know how to manage it. Excessive shame prevents the development of guilt, and when experienced, it prevents him or her from accepting responsibility for their actions. Individuals who are rated high on measures of shame are rated low on measures of empathy for others. Individuals who experience guilt readily when wrong are rated high on measures of empathy. So the treatment is to separate the child from their behavior, to psychoeducate them about the shame witch, which is a treatment for shame, which you have a handout for. This printed out, markers, crayons, positive affirmations, and growth mindset phrases. So the bread on the bottom. So we're going to separate them from their behavior because they don't know how to do that. It's all muffled in one. So the bread on the bottom is you matter. You're a good person. You're doing the best that you can. The fixins in the middle, the lettuce, the pickle, the tomato, the turkey, that's what people are pointing out. That's the problem. That's the mistake. So we're going to put the problem on the fixins in the middle of the sandwich so we can separate from it from who you are. So the mistake is the mistake. That math is so hard. Or when I yell and I scream at people, that's the problem. And I'm going to work on that. When I flip my lid and I throw things, that's the problem. And then the bread on top is your best friend. Again, inner voice you. You are a good person. You're learning. You're figuring this problem out. You got this. Really important to help kids learn how to do the shame witch on themselves. Positive affirmations. There is no one better to be me than myself. That's on the bread on the bottom and the bread on the top. I am enough. I get better every single day. I'm an amazing person. I also like using you when doing affirmations. There is no one better than you to be than you. You are enough. You get better every single day. And this child or young adult is saying this to themselves. You are an amazing person. All of your problems have solutions. Today you are a leader. You can forgive yourself for your mistakes. 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 You can say it over and over and over. Just like we learned 2 plus 2 is 4, we need to input information over and over and over until we see ourselves differently. When you see yourself differently, you will see yourself different. You choose your attitude. You can choose to have an amazing day. And here's the growth mindset handout from A to Z. All these are phrases that you can say to yourself to stay compassionate, loving, and kind with yourself. A, attitude and effort determine how much I learn. I can be brave. Challenges help me grow. I'll try a different strategy. Learning is my goal, not perfection. When I ask questions, I learn. It's okay to take risks. I don't know how to do this yet. I'm still learning. Wonderful list of growth mindset for kids. Building coping skills, the self-care pizza wheel, which you have a handout of, print out, and just have them put it on their hand. It's like your self-care pizza wheel that you get to spin every day and go, okay, what do I need to take care of today? My strengths. What are my strengths? You identify them. How do I take care of my body? You identify. How am I taking care of my feelings? How am I taking care of the world around me? How do I have fun? How do I rest and relax? What are my goals? And how do I connect with family and friends? All of these pieces need to be managed and balanced like a pizza pie. It's another way to identify coping skills and identify all these different parts of you that need your attention. It's part of being human. You do a little bit at a time, over time, and you learn how to do self care. Coping skills ball. Any inflatable ball. You can have many different themes. My calm down ball, my learn how to relax ball, my anger ball, my sad ball. And on the ball, you write the different coping skills. And this is a game you play with someone else. After you write down the coping skills, you each take turns. You throw the ball to the person. The first word they see, they read it and they do it. And what I like when we do this game is you do it together. Listen to 3 sounds. Okay, let's listen to 3 sounds, right? So it's a really fun way to connect, identify coping skills, and provide themes, especially if it's something that's impacting that child. Let's provide the coping skills ball for them so they can learn how to manage. What can I do? Here's another calm down wheel of choice. You have this handout. Ways to calm my worry. You have this handout. And not everything is going to work. I'll have kids highlight the circle that works for them, cross out the one that doesn't. Write your own prescription for your own stress. You're the boss. You, the boss. You just need a jar, an empty jar of any kind. You have these prescription in your handout, and the child decides what their prescription is. What I like about this is it gets them to, yes, think about their experience. Okay, for your stress, what's your prescription for your stress? What's going to work for you? Because you are the best expert in your life. You're the doctor. You decide what works for you because not everything works for everybody. Kids love doing this. It's a lot of fun. And you can do as many prescriptions as you want. Mindfulness skills, grounding interventions. Grounding is really important for kids. I can use my senses to connect to the world around me. And this is something they have at their disposal. Just think about what you're seeing. What do you see? It actually helps you take attention off of what's stressing you out. Focus on a favorite photo. Look at the tree swaying in the wind. What do you hear? It's called orienting yourself. Orienting yourself in your environment. What can I touch? What am I touching? Does this feel good? What does this feel like? What am I tasting? Would I like some tea? Or do I need some water? Smell and smelling your favorite scent. Grounding tools and identifying with kids. What is your go-to for sight, sound, touch, taste, and smell? So you can slow down and feel more grounded, more connected, more calm inside. Mindfulness exercise. What we understand about the brain is actually trying to heal what happened. And by doing that, re experiencing the thoughts, the feelings, and sensations are part of the healing process. So I did make a video for kids, The River of Thoughts. And all you're going to need is paper, draw a river. I want you to write all the thoughts that go in their head, all that they're thinking about what's happened to them. And then you're going to have a second piece of paper that we're going to create some new river of thoughts to come in. And it's a way for kids to just separate from their thoughts, put them outside of them, because thoughts are going to be there. We don't have to believe everything we think. And once we identify them, we can see them as separate from us, like a film that we're watching. We just focus on our breathing, our river of thoughts will slow down. Just focus on the body, separate from the thoughts. We don't have to believe everything we think. It actually helps us feel more relieved. Great exercise for kids and adults. And you do have an art therapy book, From a Window Between Worlds, wonderful art therapy organization. And this workbook is in Spanish and English. You can print it out, utilize it right away. It has many different art therapy interventions. And this is something that I like to use, which identifies the beginning, middle, and end of being with one another. So tell me a rose, tell me a highlight, success, something that may have happened today, or something you're proud of. And then today, let's work on a thorn. What's something we can work out together? What can we learn to manage? And then after we do that together, what is something we can look forward to? So at the end, whenever I'm working with a child, I start, tell me your roses. Any roses? Okay, let's get to thorns. Let's work on something today to help you be the best you. And then at the end of our time together, I go, tell me a bud. What's something you're looking forward to help them transition from the work we just did together. And so it's a nice way to structure your time together. And like I've said before, I have made some mental health videos for kids. You can find this on my YouTube channel, Genetically Speaking. And I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope this has been helpful. There's plenty of things that we can do together. And if you have any questions, please email me, Jeanette@yoftherapy.com. I will do my best to respond to you within usually 3 to 5 days. And I wish you all well, and I hope to see you again soon. All right, take care. Bye bye.